This is episode 448 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abul Samad from Telemetry.
And I am not your normal guest / host. I am Chad Kirchner. I talk about EVs. I freelance. I crap post on the internet. And I'm really happy to be here tonight
I'm glad to have you here.
To talk about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, Robbie and Nicole were supposed to join us tonight. Both of them ended up, their flights today ended up getting all screwed up. And so Robbie is still somewhere in the air, I think, right now, hopefully landing in Detroit soon.
He was zone 7 or boarding group 6 or 7 on his Southwest flight. He's in the back with a bunch of teenagers. Oh. That's the latest Robbie report that I have.
Well, while we're here, Chad, did you drive anything this week?
Just my own car, which is very weird because every time I come on here, I'm never in a press car. But no, I didn't. Other than my own car, which I'd like to point out is a 2011 Ford Fiesta with the worst transmission Ford ever made.
You got that wonderful power shift dual clutch gearbox.
There's something else it's called, but you'd have to bleep that. But I get 40 miles to the gallon, and it sits at the airport, so it does a good job at that. But our guest later today was talking about a much bigger. Well, one of our guests later today that we're going to talk about is going to talk about a car that he just bought, which is way bigger and hauls way more things and gets about the same MPG. So,
yeah,
it's weird how technology advances.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But first of all, I did drive something. I had, amazingly enough, I have manual transmission cars 2 weeks in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. So first up was the Acura Integra A-Spec with the technology package. So that, excuse me, that's what I had. Excuse me. That's what I had last week. And the one that I had, so this is, basically the base Integra. They've got two variations. You got the A-Spec and you got the Type S. The A-Spec is essentially a fancier version of a Civic Si. And the Type S is a nicer looking version of the Civic Type R. And actually, recently, one of my neighbors around the corner got an Integra Type S. I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet, but I've seen him pull out a few times. But even the A-Spec, I really like. I'm a fan of the Civic. The last couple, especially the last couple of generations of Civic, as you all know, if you've been listening, we owned one for 8 years. It was a great car, and we only replaced it because we wanted to buy an EV. So this is basically the current generation Civic hatchback. So the Integra only comes as a 4-door or 5-door hatchback, and the one that I had the double Apex Blue Pearl paint job, which they have some genuinely boring colors on all Acuras, and then usually one or two cool colors. So they have, there's a bunch of variations of black and gray and white. There's
the German rainbow.
There's a white. There's a solar silver, the majestic black pearl, and for whatever reason, Acura's apparently favorite color, the urban gray pearl, which I find just utterly boring. It's not bad. It's just it's like it disappears. But the double Apex Blue is a fantastic color. And I like the design changes to the Integra versus the Civic. I think I really like driving the current generation Civic, but I think when they redesigned it, when they went from the 10th to the 11th generation, they made the design a little boring. And the Integra is less boring. It's actually quite nice. They've incorporated some of the Acura design language into this thing. It's got a significantly nicer, more upscale interior than the Civic does. And it makes it a really nice car to drive, and it's a really fantastic car to drive. 200 horsepower, 1.5 liter turbo. So again, as I said, same engine that's in the Civic Si. You can get it with a 6-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. And the one I had the manual transmission. It's a great transmission. Honda always does great gearboxes. Shifts really nice, smooth. No notchiness to it at all. Easy to get off the line. Nice clutch feel to it. Honda, I think, makes some really good seats. They don't necessarily have a huge number of adjustments, and this one didn't either. But it seems, at least for my body, they always seem to fit my body really well.
Well, if you can, I don't need 22 ways of adjustment if the seats just works right.
Yeah. And then the back seat is roomy enough for 2.5 adults. It's not the widest car in the world, so depending on how broad-shouldered you are,
how you cut your third adult in half.
Yeah, exactly.
So you bisect
or you have a child in the middle seat.
Oh, okay.
Whatever,
right.
Whatever your preference. It's got lots of cargo space. It's about 26.5 cubic feet of cargo space, which is great. And because it's a hatchback, if you need to carry bigger stuff, if it was a sedan, and you can see this if you get a Civic sedan, it's got a decent sized trunk, but the opening is not huge. And, so if I had to choose between a Civic sedan or a Civic hatchback, I would always choose the hatchback. And, in the case of the Integra, they only offer it as a hatchback, which makes it great.
Well, that counters the, you using the analogy that it's a Civic Si. Civic Si, I believe, is only a sedan.
Yes, I think you're right.
I'm double checking right now, but I'm pretty sure it's only a sedan. So unlike the Type S and the Type R, which are both hatches, this is the more practical Civic Si.
Right. So you can fold the back seats down. You've got a huge amount of space back there, to put bigger stuff. So, if you happen to be driving around on a Saturday morning and see something cool at a yard sale and you want to pick it up, just pop the hatch, fold those seats down, throw it in there. No problem at all. So, I really enjoyed driving this. It handles really well. Just like a Civic, handles really well. It's got a nice blend of ride quality. Very easy to drive around town. It's not so big that it's a problem to park it. It's very, very practical, but I think reasonably stylish, and just a really nice interior. The interior of the one that I had, they offer two options for the interior. One is basically black, or various shades of black and dark gray, with metal trim, or metal film trim, as they call it, across the dashboard. And then the other one is the Orchid, which is mostly sort of an off-white on the door panels and on the seats, but with some blue inserts on the seats that are a really nice touch. I think I really like that color combination. They introduced that on the ADX last year, and they've added it to the Integra, and I really, that's actually my favorite thing about the ADX, actually. If you're considering buying an ADX, please drive an Integra and buy that instead, because you have the same powertrain in the Integra and the ADX. They're based on the same platform, but the ADX is like 400 pounds, 400 or 500 pounds heavier than this. It has less room inside. So it's slower, gets worse fuel economy.
But it's not an SUV, Sam.
But you've got just as much space inside because of the hatchback and the folding rear seats in this thing. Just buy the Integra.
Yeah,
it's a better car. You will enjoy driving the Integra much more, and you can get the Integra with a manual transmission. You cannot get the manual transmission in the ADX. The ADX only comes with a CVT. So get the Integra, skip the ADX. The one that I had came to a grand total of $41,095. The only option on it was the double Apex Blue paint, which was $600. You want to take a guess at the destination charge?
Oh, I'm kind of cheating because I have the build and price open, but $12.95.
Yeah, it's $12.95.
Well, I was trying to compare the price with the SI,
Oh, okay.
because I'm trying to lead in behind the scenes. I'm trying to lead into the question I want to ask. But
Okay. Well, what's your question?
is it worth $8,000 more than the Civic Si?
Um,
Because Civic Si base kind of is 31,495, delivery stuff add, your 32,690. So roughly 8 grand, 7 to 8 grand price difference.
if all you want is the driving experience, probably not. Just get the Civic Si. Although, as I said, you can't get the Civic Si with a hatchback.
Right. Yeah, more practical than that.
So, but if you want that same driving experience, but with a little more premium feel to the interior, then get the Integra.
Plus, it doesn't look as normcore. I really do think that
it is more interesting to look at.
Yeah, the new Civic, I think like the last gen, like they did a really smart thing and make it look really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they got a little gun shy about it, because now I think the only current Civic that looks interesting is the Type R. And that's partially because it's got the wide body on it, plus the big boy racer wing, which I like. But it still doesn't look as wild as the previous generation's Type R.
That's true. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if I like the experience of the Integra, but driving the Civic Si is not going to be fundamentally different from this. So it's good. I think it's a good option for you.
Well, I think that you talk a little bit about the Type S just as well. I know that we're talking about the A-Spec here, but Honda did announce, I'm sure you covered it, that they're sending the Type S, Integra Type S, to Japan. So
yeah, they're going to export them. They build all of these here in the U.S. and they're going to start exporting the Integra Type S with left-hand drive, which will be interesting.
But 5 extra horsepower, so
yeah,
and a better suspension setup, more comfortable,
we'll see.
I should say. But anyways, and then your other manual, I don't even know where to begin.
That's for the next show.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But I'll tease it. It's a Miata.
Oh. Well, that's always the answer. It is the
35th anniversary Miata.
It was 72 degrees out today where I'm at, and I really wondered why I don't have a Miata. Like, it really...
It was a perfect day for a Miata.
Yeah.
Top down.
I used to have an S2000, which I don't know if I've ever talked about on the show, but like, you take the top-down experience combined with Honda's best gear shift ever, and Honda makes really good gear shifts. You're just like, oh, this is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right, let's move on to some other stuff.
Yeah.
Let's start with Nissan.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So, let's see. As we're recording this, about a little more than a half hour from now.
Yep.
By the time you hear this, it'll already have passed.
You are going to learn that the Nissan Xterra is coming back. Oh wait, we already knew that. But we got a teaser image of it, and it's said to go on sale late in 2028. So probably a 2029 version.
Yeah, probably.
We don't really know much. We just know that it's yellow. The concept that they showed us, the computer generated teaser image that they showed us, is yellow. We know it's going to be body on frame. I think that's about all we know.
I might have possibly seen one a couple of years ago.
It's possible that Sam on a trip to Japan with Robbie maybe was there.
No, he was not there.
Oh, probably saw.
But Robbie saw it a different time.
Yeah, I think everybody's seen it. I'm the only one who hasn't seen it, which kind of bums me out. But Xterra, like, is it too late? Because I think that they should have brought the Xterra back like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Like
3 or 4 years ago definitely would have been better. By the time this comes out, late 2028, it's going to be coming into a crowded marketplace. You're going to have Wrangler, probably maybe by then a next generation Wrangler.
Yeah.
You got Bronco, you got 4Runner, very possibly a Hyundai.
Yeah, Hyundai or Kia.
Maybe a Kia by that time. Plus, you got some assorted other stuff. So it's going to be coming into a lot crowded market space than if it showed up, let's say, 3 years ago instead of 3 years from now.
Right. Yeah, it's you're going to be spoiled for choice for body on frame, and that's very, very weird to me because I mean I do like body on frame vehicles. I think the new 4Runner is really actually pretty nice. It's a lot of money.
It's expensive though.
A lot of money. And Nissan's like, oh, we need to play in this body on frame off-road space, and it's like, do you? I mean, maybe. I mean, there is definitely some heritage there, and people loved the Xterra. Like, I was convinced mid 2010s to like late 2020, like late 2010s, like if they would just reopen a plant and build Xterras with the same tooling and molding and stuff that they had, they probably would have sold gajillions of them. I think there probably is some pent-up demand for it, but you're right. There's going to be so much competition at the end of 2028, including, I believe you're right, the new Wrangler. That would be the time for it because we got the JL in 2018. So it's time. They've been following a 10-year cycle. It is time.
There is going to be, Nissan is developing a new hybrid system for body on frame vehicles. So, it will have that.
Sure.
Let's see, it says here, Nissan will also complete the spectrum of consumer choice by offering plug-in hybrid and range extender hybrid solutions through partnerships. So we're going to, I don't know if we're going to see a range extender on the Xterra.
Right.
But they are bringing range extenders to some part of their lineup.
Sure.
That we don't know yet.
I actually think e-Power would be great for a range extender.
Yeah, and that's actually probably what it'll be, is probably an extension of e-Power.
Because I mean, we both drove the Qashqai, probably the same Qashqai.
Most likely, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it was 20 degrees out. The weather was not great. It was cold and slushy, and I was driving at highway speeds plus a couple miles per hour, and I was getting like 50 miles to the gallon in that. And I was talking to one of our collective Nissan friends who drove it in better weather, and he said he got like the computer indicated 60. Like, that's,
well, keep in mind, that was a European spec Qashqai, so that was probably imperial miles, imperial gallons.
Imperial miles. I did ask about that.
And imperial miles too.
I did ask about that because that's the first question I had. And they assured me that it was not imperial gallons because they didn't buy it in the UK. They did buy the cars, but they were left-hand drive cars we drove.
Yeah.
So they should be regular gallons. But yeah, you're right. It could possibly have been imperial. But the point is, like, if you can get 40 miles to the gallon or more out of just e-Power, like let's say 40, 41, 42, like that's something. Like, I feel like that's something.
Yeah.
You add some range extender. I mean, yeah, she still would like to add the range extender eventually, but like that could be really flipping competitive, especially when other hybrids haven't been delivering the hybrid goods the way that maybe they need to. I'm looking at Toyota and scolding at them a little bit.
You mean with their rear drive hybrids, with their body on frame hybrids?
Yeah.
Especially
those
definitely do not get particularly good fuel economy.
They do not have the juice.
Their transverse engine hybrids are great, at least in terms of efficiency.
Yeah.
They don't sound very good, but that's a whole separate issue.
No. But
speaking of e-Power,
the
new Rogue, they've
showed it to us.
When let's see, was it? Oh, it was at that event where we drove the Qashqai.
Yeah.
They did show us a picture of what the new Rogue looks like.
Yeah.
So, this was the same event where we also got to drive the Rogue plug-in hybrid, which is really.
I drove it at a different event, so I didn't get to see the new.
Rogue. Okay.
The new Rogue until today. I drove it in Detroit.
Okay.
I mean, so the new Rogue debuted officially. Like we knew it was coming. Nissan has said it was coming. Like it's not a surprise.
It's coming this fall.
But we're getting our first photos and a little bit more confirmation on some of the stuff. I like how it looks. Dare I say, it's a handsome, mid-sized crossover. Like I kind of dig it, and I know like it's end of this year. Like it looks pretty compelling, other than I also believe that we're only getting the higher spec models early, so there's going to be some dealer overlap with the current gen Rogue, which isn't bad. The current gen Rogue is not bad, and then this new hybrid that's going to deliver a lot better fuel economy, because Nissan's hybrids in the in the Rogue in the past, not good.
No, they were definitely mediocre hybrids.
Yeah, so this is exciting. Like a real
this new
competitive
third gen e-power system is really good.
It's excellent. Yeah, it drives well.
I mean, it is like driving an EV.
It is
because that's basically what you're doing, except that you've got an onboard generator that's running all the time.
Yeah, and unlike Honda's parallel hybrids or series hybrid, I'm sorry. It never powers the front wheels directly. There is never a connection to the front wheels. It is all electricity going to there. Which is why I think it makes sense for an eventual range extender.
Right. I mean, turning this into a quote unquote range extender, is basically just a matter of expanding the size of the battery.
Yeah.
Put a bigger battery in it and a plug.
Yeah.
And that,
easy peasy.
That's all you need. Mechanically, the rest of it doesn't have to change at all because it's already purely electrically driven. The engine is only driving a generator.
Yep. Which should make getting all that sorted and to market easy and not super duper expensive for Nissan, which is good because they don't need a bunch of super duper expensive projects right now.
Yeah.
But I was really blown away by e-Power, so I'm really excited for this. I wish we still got the Qashqai as the Nissan Sport, the Rogue Sport, because I like that size a little bit better. And the Qashqais that we drove were really nice. Like they felt like Rogues. But
the previous generation Qashqai was what we got as the Rogue Sport here a few years back, and that has been replaced now by the Kicks. The Kicks, the current generation Kicks is midway in size between the old Rogue Sport and the old Kicks. So it basically took the place of both of those.
Yeah. But I'm really bullish on e-Power. I'm pretty bullish on the looks of this car. The pricing will hopefully not be completely stupid. I'm not bullish on dealers that now are going to have to field e-Power questions for 6 or 7 months and try to sell cars that some people.
All they got to do is say it's our new hybrid.
Yeah. Well, but the smart people that listen to this podcast, and we know them.
Those smart people that are listening to this podcast don't even have to ask the dealer what e-Power is because they already know.
But
already explained
it is going to be hard to sell the current gen Rogue when people know there's a new one coming that's potentially a lot better. So it is weird to see this news drop this early, but I'm super excited for it. I think it's a smart Nissan product. I think it's a smart decision, and I don't think all Nissan decisions are that. So I'm super excited for that. I'm excited for Xterra. I don't know, like it's way too early to figure out like, oh, hey, is this going to be any good or not? Like I feel like they could drop the ball. I think they could fumble the ball. I think they could mess it up.
It's based on the same architecture as the Frontier, which is actually pretty good off-road.
Yep.
So there's no reason why the Xterra shouldn't be good, and it'll be a more interesting design. There's elements of the old Xterra that people really liked that are incorporated in there, but other stuff that's more modern. So I think it can do reasonably well. So we'll see.
But here's hoping. Maybe.
And then they also put out some information about Infiniti as well.
That's still a company.
For now. Basically reiterating what they've been saying for a while now about Infiniti. That they've got they just showed the QX65 finally publicly at the New York Auto Show a couple weeks ago. But they've got 4 more new models coming out. So there is a mid-sized hybrid SUV, which basically is the
E-Power?
the new Rogue e-Power,
Yeah.
but with Infinity bodywork on it and a nice Infinity interior.
Yep.
There's a performance-oriented V6 sedan, which
Okay.
they have talked about previously.
They have, and they've said that they're doing it.
Yeah.
I'll still believe it when I see it, but
Yeah. Well, that's always the case in this business.
fair.
And then 2 large hybrid SUVs that they say that balance refinement and capability. So presumably, one of these will be a next generation replacement for QX60, probably with e-Power, and the other will be a body on frame, next generation QX80 with the same hybrid system that's going in the Xterra.
Yeah. I guess maybe there's a possibility that they take the upcoming body on frame Pathfinder and maybe do something with that. But
Yeah, that could be one of those.
That could be one of those, but
that's true. Yeah, I forgot that they're gonna
so did I until
split
about
the
10 seconds
Pathfinder
ago.
in two.
Yeah. Infinity. I mean, the reason why I'm being kind of hard on them, if anybody is listening from Infinity, is 2019, 2018, I don't remember what it was, but they flew a bunch of us out to Spaceport, USA, out in the middle of the desert. And they showed us a bunch of stuff, and they're like, this is our future, this is what's coming. And then they did none of that. Like zero.
Mhm.
So I think the brand has some issues.
They need to figure out what the brand is, what it's supposed to represent.
Yeah, because if you park a QX80 and the Armada side by side at an auto show, and some auto shows they're like that, the QX80 is nicer. Is it $15,000 to $20,000 nicer? I don't know, because the new Armada inside is really kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's enough differentiation there. And it feels like they don't, like, yeah, you're right. I think they don't have any identity right now, and I think that's a problem. And I don't understand why they even keep it around, other than they don't want to have to buy out dealers.
Yeah, could be. Who knows?
I mean, sorry to be like that guy on this, but it really, I want to believe. I am definitely David Duchovny in X-Files in the poster. I want to believe. And I think a sporty sedan with a manual transmission, like they're talking about, yeah, it's not going to be a huge seller, but it has heritage with Infinity. Like, Infinity is not new to this idea of a sports sedan. And Nissan likes to play up its heritage stuff. And when it does its heritage stuff right, the stuff's pretty good. So there is potential there, but I think they need some help figuring out what that is and what that looks like.
All right, let's move to another body on frame vehicle that's coming. Kia had their investor day a few days ago in Seoul, and they talked about some interesting stuff. I suppose it should come as no surprise that right after Hyundai showed the confirmed the body on frame midsize pickup, and then showed the concept for the Boulder SUV, that Kia announced that, yep, we are also going to do body on frame stuff. We're doing a pickup truck for a midsize pickup truck for the North American market. It's going to be based on that same architecture. And more than I would be surprised if they don't also do some sort of SUV based off of that as well. But they also talked about a bunch of other stuff. While other manufacturers like Volkswagen is ending production of the ID4 in Chattanooga because
I have thoughts about that.
Can't sell them. Kia is expanding their EV lineup, going up to 14 different electric models by 2030, targeting 1 million annual EV sales by 2030. They're targeting growth of up to going from 3.35 million units sold globally this year to 4.13 million units by 2030. They're also expanding their hybrid lineup, also targeting about 1.1 million units with 13 models by 2030. They're uh, expanding their lineup of their electric vans and commercial vehicles. So they've got the PV5 that they have shown here. They're
Yep.
adding the PV7 and PV9 models to that as well, all by 2030. What else here? Let's see. They're rolling out more software-defined vehicles, rolling out level 2++ systems that can do hands-off driving in urban areas by early 2029. They're going to be building more stuff here in North America. They're they're just cranking along. They are not backing down on any of this stuff.
So this is a general kind of philosophy that I have on HMG, on the Koreans, is they have true power, like just absolute sort of dominance. And they're very, like, they talk about it, but they're still very quiet about it. This quiet dominance of just vertical integration, of all the way from digging the raw materials out of the earth
to building the ships that transport the vehicles across the ocean,
to get everything to that car in your driveway is entirely controlled. Like, they're Apple, but like in some ways even more powerful. And I thought what was
more powerful, I think, in part because they actually own all of the means of production for all this stuff. Apple contracts out all their stuff.
Yeah. So you have, and when Jose Munoz spoke at New York, and like he mentioned, he's like, here soon you're going to be able to buy U.S. built Korean EVs built with U.S. made steel. That's all Hyundai stuff. Like, he was like swinging his maleness around, because, like, I mean, it's BDE energy, like, just, it's amazing. Like, it is absolutely incredible. And because of that, they can do things like keep their foot on the gas on EVs while still doing, building more hybrids and building more EPFs and launching more vehicles. And because they can amortize those costs across the entire supply chain, and they can control those costs across the entire supply chain in a way that General Motors or Ford or anybody else would like to be able to do, but can't. Like, it is at a really boring business level, incredible, like absolutely incredible. If there were to be $1 trillion car company, it's not Tesla. It should be the Koreans. Now, are there still some quality issues they need to work out, especially with EVs? Yes. Are there things, whatever? Yes. But my goodness. And you look at this rollout plan, and Kia themselves want to have 1 million EVs by 2030. If you add in Hyundai and Genesis on top of that, you're hitting numbers that Tesla only dreams of being able to sell, and they still sell hybrids and gas-powered cars and PHEVs and everything else on top of that. I don't want to sound like a fanboy, but like, of this business end, of this way that they're doing business, maybe it's the MBA in me, but like, I dig it. Like, it's incredible. And I believe they'll be able to do most of it. And
they, unlike Tesla, everything that they have, pretty much everything they have ever promised that they were going to do, they've done. They've never gone out and promised something that they haven't ultimately achieved, and within a reasonable time frame. Partly because they don't go out and make promises for things that they haven't figured out how to do yet.
Right.
They don't promise and then say, "Oh, now we got to figure out how to do this." They do it, and then they say, "Okay, here you go." And like on the EV side, in addition to expanding the EV lineup, part of this is they're also going to introduce their next generation EV platform. So it's going to be an upgrade from eGMP, which they have today,
which was already revolutionary and still is pretty advanced.
It's still a great platform.
Yeah.
They're also going to be further expanding their investments into charging infrastructure. So here in the U.S., they are already one of the partners in IONNA, which is expanding. They're also making further investments in Korea and in Europe as well. And then strengthening their supply chain, EV production hubs in Korea, here in the U.S. and in Europe. They're building the EV2 and EV4 in Europe. They build the EV6 and EV9 here in the States. They've got all their other EVs in Korea. It's pretty amazing to see. And on the body on frame truck, it also confirms in here that they will have hybrid and EREV versions of that as well.
Which and it won't be just the Tasman sort of rebadged.
No, this is going to be something completely new.
Yeah. So like that makes them incredibly competitive. Like in Australia with Ranger PHEV, which I know is not a huge market, but like though they've been flooded with Chinese stuff in that market, now they're going to have something else that they could go with. Here, like we don't have any mid-sized trucks that are PHEVs. I think there's some that would make sense for it, but like, we don't really have it. I think they're here to win. They're trying to win. Will they? I don't know. But the body on frame midsize, I expect Kia, and initially I expect Kia to do the truck, and I expect Hyundai to do the SUV. But I think that they will
Hyundai's already said they're doing the truck too.
Yeah, I think they'll do that after I think you're going to have one or the other.
They're launling the truck first.
Oh, then ignore everything I just said. I'm an idiot.
Munoz said that in New York.
I must have still been my jaw must have still been on the floor when he was talking about how he's going to make steel in Louisiana, make batteries and cars in Georgia, and sell them to podunks like me in Ohio. Like, but like even that, the speed in which they can move, because they hadn't necessarily, I mean, they had mostly decided they were going to do that pre-Trump, so like Trump doesn't get the credit here. But for the time that they can go from saying we're going to build an entire process in this country to having cars roll off the line, and once that meta plant in Georgia, once that's fully up with the LG Chem batteries being built right there, like that's, I don't know, when the pendulum politically swings back, and it will, and we know it will, like Ford, even in some ways GM, Stellantis,
regardless of the political pendulum, if fuel prices stay elevated, we're already seeing, uptick. When I was looking at the Q1 sales numbers, and for the manufacturers that, that report by month, for a lot of them, there was a big uptick from February to March. Starting in March, we saw a significant improvement in EV sales for most manufacturers.
Well, and Michael, we're talking to later. I don't know when you're placing this in behind the scenes baseball stuff, but anecdotally, he's like, I used to be able to see a lot of EV9s when I was looking, and now they were all reserved or taken. So I don't necessarily think people are going out and swapping their cars quite yet. I don't think it's been pricey enough long enough, but I think if you're in the market right now, like, you're going to look at an EV or a plug-in hybrid or something maybe that you wouldn't have looked at before, because $4 a gallon gas and higher really stinks.
Well, my wife is definitely glad we bought an EV last year.
Oh, I'm sure. So. I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, just genuinely impressed. Like, I really hate coming off as a fanboy, just like I hate crapping extra hard on Infiniti earlier. But like, it's very interesting to see how the Koreans are operating, and I know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows there. Like, I understand work requirements, and Hyundai and Kia have gotten in trouble for suppliers that have used perhaps underage labor, and like there's not they're not clean. No automaker is. But when you look at like what Hyundai Motor Group and what Jose Munoz and what Kia are promising compared to what Elon promises, and who delivers on what, I think the valuations are backwards. Is what I'll say.
Sticking with Hyundai Motor Group, Hyundai has also teased, the Beijing Motor Show is coming up next week, and they're going to be launching a couple of new concepts in Beijing, and they are basically launching Ioniq as a sub-brand in China for EVs. So this, and they showed two vehicles. One is a sedan, and the other is a crossover. very interesting designs,
Yeah.
especially
Oh
the
yeah.
sedan.
Well, they're gonna have to do something like
Yeah.
different because they're gonna get crushed on charging. Like we feel like right now oh, EGMP stuff and whatever is super quick and stuff here, but I mean we're talking BYD
Yeah,
with megawatt charging.
by non-Chinese standards, it's
Yeah.
fast. But well, I mean, let's jump to the next story, which is BYD. BYD is well, first of all, they're targeting opening 20 dealers in Canada by the end of this year.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
So breaking into the Canadian market,
Yeah.
and also eyeing a local production in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think it's only a matter of time. I still expect within the next 12 months, we'll see groundbreaking on a BYD on some Chinese EV factory in Canada.
Yeah, yeah. It's the ticking clock is ticking and it's loud.
Yeah. But then in Europe as well, they have launched the Denza Z9 GT, which is one of their first models with megawatt charging, and they have said that within the next 12 months, they plan to install 300 1,500 kilowatt chargers in the UK under their Flash branding.
I mean, that's 300 for there's 11 million drivers in the UK. Like, if you look at proportionally, like that's it's
a relatively small number still, but the UK is not that big of a place physically,
right? Like, if you look per capita per driver, like that's a lot of. I mean, that's a decent amount of chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not China pilled. I think that there are concerns.
They are doing a lot of stuff way better than we are here.
But they are doing some stuff pretty good. And in charging, I don't even know if megawatt charging is the answer. Like, I really think a lot more level 2 probably makes a lot more sense. I understand that our power grid here being 110, 120, whatever,
rickety
is rickety compared to 240 in Europe, where you can just bring your own cable and whatever. I understand that there's some technical differences on why our network is rickety. But my God, 1,500 watt charging, like, even if that's peak, like I watched a video when they installed the temporary station, the first whatever one that they invited the British press to come and look at, and it was like 6 or 7% to 93% in 9 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah, they're saying for the Denza Z9, it's a 123 kilowatt hour battery. It'll charge from 10 to 70% in 5 minutes.
I thought 18 minutes for 10 to 80 on a EGMP.
Well, I think that was on their first iteration of that, which was only 1,000 kilowatt.
Right.
These are 1,500 kilowatt.
That is
so you're looking at adding 100 kilowatt hours of energy to the battery in 5 minutes.
And if that car gets 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which probably is a little too optimistic, but still, that's
early buyers of the Z9 GT will get 18 months of free charging at these stations. So it's actually 300 charging stations, at least 600 chargers.
Yeah, 600 chargers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pumping gas, dog. Like, that is fast. Like, any excuse on pretty much goes out the window at that point on why an EV isn't as good as a gas car. Like, they've solved that. Obviously you would need a lot more of those chargers, but when you factor in that most people charge at home, that you're not going to use fast charging, you put these in the places that make the most sense, and it's a solved problem. The Chinese have solved it.
Yeah.
Again, there may be some issues with how the Chinese build cars
car,
and flooding the market and all that stuff. Like, that's a longer discussion. Yeah. But man,
and this isn't one of BYD's cheap cars. This is going to be a 100,000-pound car in the UK. Yeah. But still, that's
once
you've launched it in that car, they're going to be adding this to their more affordable models as well.
Yeah, and once the chargers are out there, once the infrastructure's out there, then it's even easier to, to justify doing that. And that's why I think like even like Hyundai, to bring it slightly back to what we're talking about, like they've got to find a way to differentiate in China because they can't differentiate in China the way that they can differentiate in the US. And with stuff like this, I'm also not surprised that Honda said we're having a hard time being competitive with Chinese EVs, which is why they pulled out. Part of the reason why they pulled out with their EVs during their statement when you guys talked about it and stuff, was like they said, "Look, we're worried about our competitiveness." Yeah, because look at this. Like this is, and it's not in China, right? Like it's in Blighty. It's in the UK. Like it's not.
Yeah,
it's coming, and once it's in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, if they start building some of these chargers in Canada, people are going to be wondering, hey, how come those guys can have those nice chargers and we can't?
Yeah.
So
good for them. More chargers, more fast chargers are good. Faster charging cars are good. I still stand by megawatt chargers shouldn't necessarily be,
it shouldn't be the thing we depend on.
It shouldn't be the thing we depend on.
We need level 2 everywhere.
But yeah. But who won't be making EVs anymore in the U.S. to sell?
Volkswagen, at least for the foreseeable future.
Volkswagen, VOTLS.
Yeah, they've been building the ID4 in Chattanooga for the last several years, and they have ended production of the ID4 here. Yep. They said that they currently have enough inventory that'll carry them well into 2027, which. Well, I mean, see, if EV sales pick up, that may not last that long.
Yeah, that's true.
And they are going to bring in an updated version of the ID4 at some point. But it won't necessarily be built here.
I don't know about you, but I find the ID4 perfectly cromulent, which I believe is a Simpsons term. But like it's fine. Like it's fine. But the problem is, it's in a segment full of stuff that's excellent. And why would you buy fine when you can buy excellent for the same price, or in some cases cheaper? I mean, Ioniq 5's new pricing is in almost borderline insane. So, not super duper surprised that this is the end result. Not super duper surprised about anything with Volkswagen in the US anymore, because like. Oh, they frustrate me so much because like they can do cool stuff, but then they don't want to do the cool stuff here, where they shovel it onto the US like, oh, here, have this. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't. The ID4 was fine, but like the ID Buzz priced way too expensive for what we got. It was not the right one they should have brought. They should have brought the longer wheelbase, the bigger one for us. Like it's just
they did. We did get the longer wheelbase.
Well, then we didn't get the cheaper short one.
Yeah.
Whatever one was cheaper, we didn't get.
Yeah.
And 150 kilowatt charging, the MEB stuff, it's fine, but like it's only fine when you can get a GMP for more, or even like the Toyota stuff's even better at this point. Like it's really hard, and there were some initial teething issues with, infotainment screen and responsiveness and stuff like that. They didn't put a backlight on the climate control part of the infotainment screen, like really just dumb stuff that you shouldn't make. Like, but every time
we have talked about Thomas Schaefer, the CEO of Volkswagen, has recently said, we are not doing that anymore. We're not doing the touchscreen controls for climate control.
Thank you, Jesus.
Going back to buttons and switches.
Yep.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think that it's weird that when you go to Europe and you just see ID3s everywhere, they are everywhere. It's like, why? What happened? What happened with ID4 that didn't get the magic of ID3? Was it price? Was it design? Was it just the state of the world? I don't know, but I don't see ID4s and I see a ton of ID3s.
I mean, they sold the ID4 here instead of the 3 because they figured Americans don't want a hatchback. They want a crossover, and they're aside from the body, the form factor, they're essentially the same vehicle.
Right.
Would people have bought the ID3 instead? Maybe, probably not in any more
No,
numbers than they did
but
the
they didn't. I
ID4,
was gonna say
because
they
it
didn't
still
sell
would
that
have had
many
the same.
ID4s.
It still would have had the same issues with the software, with the infotainment software.
Sure.
You know, okay charging, okay range, but not great.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare it to the Hyundais and Kias.
And the ID4, like the last one I drove, was quiet, rode well.
Oh yeah,
I've
it's a
had
very
one
nice car to drive.
I've had one as a ride share before, and it's nice to ride in the back seat in. Like, it's cromulent. It's fine, and I think that's fine with the current state of EVs, with some of the weird things that Volkswagen just hasn't quite figured out. Isn't enough. And it's kind of unfortunate. I want more competition, not less.
Yeah. All right, and then last one I want to touch on is Scout.
Speaking of Volkswagen,
Yeah. Motor One and some other outlets reported that the Scout launch may be delayed by as much as a year. And this came from Auto Forecast Solutions. They published a report saying that the production of the Traveler SUV, which is launching before the pickup, was pushed back a year to September 2028. They got this from talking to suppliers.
Yeah.
When we were at Scout about 3-4 weeks ago, Scott Keogh, the CEO, said, "No, we are on target. We're installing equipment in the factory.
Yeah.
In the next few months, we're going to start doing the first of 4 pre-production runs of vehicles and targeting, series production of the Traveler in the fall of 2027, and then the pickup about 5-6 months behind that." Scout did issue a statement to Motor One and presumably to other outlets that I haven't read yet. It says, "Scout has not spoken with Auto Forecast Solutions. We do not have anything additional to share regarding timing beyond what we've already announced. As we've previously shared, initial production is targeted to begin in 2027.
Yeah.
We will start producing initial validation vehicles this year. The effort will continue and mature into 2027. Expect customers will begin taking delivery of new Scout vehicles in early 2028. So we'll see."
He said, she said. I mean, I don't want to lower her down to that because, like, again, I know Sam over there at AFS, and they seem to be pretty well connected. Having a statement come out that specifically kind of says the way that that's worded kind of makes me think that that's as much as a denial of that report as possible. I think a no comment would have added a little more credibility to the reporting, but I think we're also probably splitting hairs of 6 months here. Like,
no, I mean the schedule that Auto Forecast published was
2030 for the truck, and what,
it was like
2020?
fall of 2028, so almost a year delay.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
a year is probably not quite splitting hairs, but there is a lot more uncertainty right now than when Scout launched. Volkswagen dealers have started to throw a fit, which I think is stupid. And there's a plant that's supposedly still on track for being built, but what are they going to put in there? I don't know. Starting a car company's hard, man. I don't. Scott Keogh has all the reasons in the world to say that they're on target. Are they? I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of smart people working there. I know a lot of smart people working there, and I think the product has the potential to be compelling. Maybe there were some kinks thrown in. Maybe they thought there'd be more full BEV reservations than there were Harvester reservations. Maybe there was some, once they got it out there in the real world, some changes that maybe they didn't anticipate.
I think, if there is a delay, I would think that the most likely reason for the delay is potentially having to re-engineer the range extender.
Yeah.
Because the problem they've got with the range extender is, they said at the event, we're mounting the engine in the back. The whole range extender is a module with the engine, the cooling system, fuel tank, and everything is mounted in the back of the vehicle behind the rear axle.
Yeah, you and Craig looked for it.
And from a packaging standpoint, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you get to retain the frunk. It's very easy to install. The downside, though, is now you've put all this extra weight in the back, And when you're towing, that's where you don't want extra weight.
Yeah.
You don't want to be taken away from the tongue load.
No.
And they acknowledged that right now the E-Rev has less towing capacity than the BEV.
Sure.
They're not saying how much. There's been reports. There were some early reports that it was as low as 3,500 pounds versus 10,000 for the BEV. It's sounding more like they're more like in the 5,000 pound range. But even if they launch it with only 5,000 pounds of towing for the E-Rev, that's game over. Nobody's going to buy that.
No, it's not. It's not good. I reference only that video that you shot with, that you guested with Craig, that I happened to see on something else because it was funny and Craig's funny. I think it is a clever place to put an engine, just because I don't think we've really seen engines like specifically like that before. Yeah, towing though, that's a real concern because tongue weight is kind of the most important thing.
If it wasn't this type of vehicle, if it wasn't an SUV or a truck that those customers expect to tow with, then it wouldn't be as big a deal.
If I were an analyst, I'm not. God, I'm not. But if I were, I would wonder what's more important to a traveler or the other, whatever. What's more important to that buyer?
The Terra.
The Terra or the traveler? Is it the towing capacity or is it the frunk? It's probably the towing capacity.
Yes, absolutely.
So
100%.
I like the idea of trying to preserve the frunk. I do. Maybe it's got to go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's got to go on the E-Rev. Again, I think it's super clever to try to engineer around that. I think that would even be a differentiator. Like, hey, here's our E-Rev pickup truck that still has a frunk. Because I don't think it matters as much on the SUV because you've got other internal.
You've got a lot of internal cargo space.
But in a pickup truck, you don't really have a lot of lockable, weatherproof storage that's not in the cab. And I think that people that have experienced things like the Rivian R1T or the Lightning or one of the GM trucks, like once you kind of have a frunk on a pickup truck, like it's kind of a game changer for you. Frunks on other EVs and stuff, whatever. But on a pickup truck,
it makes a lot of difference.
Makes so much of a difference. And I mean, I hope they find an engineering solution to it, but I agree with you. If you lose half your towing capacity because you have an E-Rev, it would have to be really, really cool, and I don't think it's cool enough. I mean, people buy Raptors even though you lose 2,500, 3,000 pounds of towing over a regular F-150 because the truck's cool.
But you're still looking even there at 7,500, 8,000 pounds of towing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 5 is Telluride towing capacity.
Yeah, or Honda Passport,
Yeah.
Or Ridgeline.
Or I think like the BZ Woodland will tow 5,000 pounds. I think it was either 3 or 5.
Sure.
I
think it
might have been 3. All right, well, don't quote me on that again. I'm not the expert. I'm just the guy that you invite on to pretend like I am. But I want to be excited for Scout. I think there's a lot of clever people working there. I think that having a more off-road kind of focused alternative to something like a Rivian, I think is a cool idea. I have questions long-term about how Scout becomes more than 2 cars, how it becomes a full-line automaker, if it can become a full-line automaker, but I like seeing more competition. I like the vibe that I get from Scout. I liked Scott Keogh's like speech when he announced Scout, and I sat there and it was very pro-US heavy, which is weird coming from, I'm not an American, but like it was pulling at the right heartstrings. And
yeah, I mean, Volkswagen has long struggled in the US market. And this is the kind of product that really gets the heart of the American market.
Yeah, and it feels like Scott gets that, and it feels like the people there get that.
Yeah.
Probably helps that they hired a lot of Jeep people, including the designer. But like, I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
I also hope the truck doesn't come out in 2030 because that's I know that's only 4 years, but it's also a long 4 years because those markets are the market is just gonna look so different in 2030, even here in the US. That it I don't know. I wish I could read the tea leaves. I'd probably make a lot more money if I was more accurate at this, but I think there's room for Scout right now. I hope there's still room for Scout when they come out because I like competition. I hope they solve this whatever this engineering problem potentially is with EREV. But
Yeah.
I do wonder if they expected that many EREV reservations. I mean, they would have had to have, right? Like they had to have known.
I think they did. Well, I don't know. I don't think they expected 85, 90%,
Right.
but they expected it to be a significant, upwards of half.
Yeah.
And at any significant quantity, you got to make sure you do it right.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Well, let's wrap that up.
let's do that.
So next up, we're going to welcome one of our listeners. Michael Burns is going to join us, and I'm going to bring him in now. All right, everybody. And we have a special guest joining us tonight. It is one of our listeners. It's Michael Burns, who you might know from the Discord, if you're in the Discord, as Mas Superum. Well, first, Michael, where does that name come from? What does that mean?
That is an old gamer name. It is. I thought I had customized it. I thought I'd customized it to Mr. Burns in the channel, but yes, that's my old gamer name for many years of PC gaming. So if you're out there and you're looking for, if you see me in the next, if I come up behind you and shoot you in the back, that's my old gamer name.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked you to join us tonight, Michael, is because you shared in the Discord fairly lengthy story of your recent car buying or car shopping experience and the process you and your wife went through in picking out a vehicle. And rather than me just reading out this thread from the Discord, I figured, why don't you join us and tell us the story yourself in your own words? So go ahead and tell us, how did this process start for your car buying process this time around?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you, Sam, for the invite, for having me on the show. I'm happy to be here with you and Chad.
Hello, listener Michael.
Yes, and I will hopefully this is not a one-time deal. Maybe I can write another thing and get to meet Robbie and Nicole as well. You guys have one of the best shows, best automotive podcasts I've ever found, and I've been listening to y'all for several years. So if to anybody who is out there listening for the first time, these guys really care about their craft and keeping listeners informed about the automotive industry. And it's very tech heavy. That's where I first heard Sam. I heard him on Leo Laporte's This Week in Tech on the Twit network. So very much happy to be here. Like you said, we just went through a car buying experience, and I haven't purchased a car myself since 2023. And my wife, though, had not purchased a car in about 10 years. We had a 2016 Chrysler Town & Country. It's got I just checked it a few minutes ago before the show. It's got 95,000 miles on it. And quite a bit of dog hair in the back. That's one of the key things that I have to have room for. We have 2 adopted racing greyhounds. I've mentioned that to you guys before in trying to find when I was looking for my Jeep Wrangler. Still not enough room in that thing for those 2 big dogs.
Say those aren't small dogs.
No, they're not. They're lanky. The little one curls up in a nice ball. The other one, the bigger one, just tolerates her or uses her as a pillow. But they went jeeping with me this past weekend. But my wife has been with the Chrysler for, like I said, about 10 years. We got it in 2017. And that experience, car buying experience, was through, we used TrueCar at the time. I don't know if that's still around, but it was
it's
sort
around,
of
but not doing great.
Yeah, it was sort of the non-negotiable price from USAA, and that's probably one of the things I do not like about car buying is I do not like dealing with the dealership at all. I don't like, and if you're an employee at a dealership or dealer on the podcast, no disrespect at all, but it's just not my forte. I don't want to really have to negotiate that sort of thing. So we had that car. We loved it, and it's served us for many years, but it was starting to show its age. And I think the kicker was the air conditioning was starting to become questionable, and you cannot not have air conditioning here in Georgia for a summer. So that was kind of what drove us to start hunting. And I take a lot of everything that you guys say here on the show, and I'm a big fan of Motor Week on PBS too. I take the reviews pretty seriously and try and find something that's. I drive a 4xe, a PHEV, which is no longer available now, but I really wanted to get away from 18 miles, 16 miles a gallon with the vehicle. And after having driven the EV3 on a business trip in Europe just a couple of weeks ago, I was really sold on that. And I was like, you know what, if we can get an EV9 or a Telluride size vehicle, full electric, and if I can convince my wife to do that, we're going to be golden. And then certain global circumstances made electric vehicles start to dry up almost immediately. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And so then it became a hunt on like, okay, what can we do? And so I basically went the route with my wife that I have been for the past two vehicles. I got my Dodge Ram 1500 from CarMax, and I got my current Wrangler from CarMax, and I'm really happy with the experience. It's super simple. You go in there, hey, here's my car. They'll give you usually a fair price for it, and you get out of it. You get what you get for the car, and they'll apply it right then and there. And it doesn't take 3 days of negotiations and sacrificial goats and that sort of thing to get the deal, which is what I absolutely do not like to deal with. And I pointed my wife at CarMax and said, have at it. And I said, if you've got questions, you do it. Cause I'm letting you, I don't want to say letting my wife, she usually defers to me for the cars, and I wanted her to pick what she wanted cause she's got preferences. So we were agreed on some certain requirements. We wanted a comfy front seat, and then room for the greyhounds and a human preteen. That should technically be 3 requirements, but the preteen just hangs out with the dog, so she's not too picky. She's waiting to drive it in a couple of years. So we started looking around, and really the Telluride, the Palisade were at the top of the list. And we started looking around. There's a lot of Tellurides in the used car market. There are a lot of Palisades in the used car market, and I was a little worried about that, but then I see how many are out on the road, and I said, well, they've got to be popular.
They sell a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You guys have been
they've been strong sellers for Hyundai and Kia.
Yeah.
I know you don't know me as well as you do, like Sam and Nicole and them, but I mean, the default 3-row that I recommend to people is either the Telluride or Palisade. Like it's just kind of it's almost the no-brainer vehicle for a lot of people that need that sort of either 3-row space or something like that. I could see maybe certain preferences leaning towards something else, but that's just it's almost like recommending a Toyota at this point. Like it's just kind of the no-brainer.
Yeah, and we thought about the Grand Highlander, but that was expensive. That was expensive used, and it was much. The price points on the Kias and the Hyundais were much better. We looked at so we had 2 key options that we ended up with. 2024, 2025 Kia Telluride. We were looking at the EX or SX Prestige models, and we were trying to get the X line. Just because there's the advantage. I like to be able to tow a trailer if we need to. You get a 5,000-pound towing capability with the X-Line on those trims. And, those are floating around. If you're looking for right now, they're probably 40 with about, I like to get a vehicle from CarMax or a used vehicle, 20,000 miles or less, just to have a little bit of manufacturer warranty, especially with the Kias and the Hyundais, because you get 5 years, 60,000 on the base warranty. And my wife will destroy a car in a heartbeat. I don't know how it happens. It's definitely not like mine. But there are just strange things that start to happen at the minute she touches the push button start. So I needed the warranty. and the both of them were perfect. The Telluride and the Palisade both had plenty of room in the back for our dogs, probably a second row room. We liked the room up front, but the way that the Palisade was laid out in the center console, it just felt a little more cramped than the Telluride, and it just felt like a lot more open center console. So we ended up looking at those two models in the Tellurides locally, and they were between 46K and 48K. And we started thinking about monthly payments, and that's where, because we're going to buy this, you can't lease it used. And we started thinking, this is kind of rich right now, especially with the economy kind of on the edge a little bit. So then we also looked at a Santa Fe, and I found a Santa Fe hybrid all-wheel drive. 2025, it was about 10K cheaper, same mileage, 10 to 20K. And she actually liked it and didn't complain about that it was a narrower vehicle or anything like that. And so we were kind of torn. Do we want a V6? Do we want a V6 that gets 18, 25 miles per gallon, a little bit more room, some towing capability, or do we want a Santa Fe hybrid all-wheel drive? Both of them had all-wheel drive. The X-Line gives you the all-wheel drive by default on the Kia. And, it was kind of a toss-up. But the thing that she didn't like about the Telluride was the V6 was a bit twitchy. It has that 8-speed automatic transmission, and when you're off the line, it's not very quick to respond to throttle input relative to the Turbo 4 hybrid in the Santa Fe. And I think that's what convinced her. Yes, it's a little smaller. Yes, it's a little narrower width ways, interior room, but it just it didn't feel like a boat that was a little squirrely off the line. And I don't know if we had a weird one that we'd picked out on the lot or what. But that was the big thing for her. For me, I was super excited because we were getting a hybrid and 35 miles per gallon. I will say that we looked at a couple other vehicles. And if anybody's shopping the Kias and the Kias and the Hyundais, just compare two different model years, because you're going to get the different infotainment system. The newer infotainment system was in the Santa Fe. The older one is in the Kia, and you two will know the best. I think that when is that 2027 Telluride coming out? The one that looks more blocky.
It's out now.
Okay.
I think the gas version is out now, and the hybrid is coming like in the next few weeks.
Okay. Yeah, so that was kind of a key thing for us is the for me anyways, the interface was a lot nicer on the Santa Fe because it had the what do you call it, the newer infotainment interface.
Mm-hmm.
And the one on the Kia, the older Kia, the one on the older Kia, it just didn't. It was sluggish. It didn't seem to respond as well, and it wasn't as crisp. And it was kind of weird. I was thinking they would have the same one between the EV9 and the EV9 and not the EV9, the EV3 that I'd driven in Europe, and the Kia that I had in the Telluride. But it was a whole generation difference, and it was kind of odd when are they catching up with all this? So
the new ones do have the updated infotainment system, both in the new Palisade and the Telluride.
Mm-hmm. To not industry explain stuff, don't take this that way.
No.
But usually, whenever an automaker launches a new system, like it'll launch in a particular model of car, and then sort of as each one gets its refresh, its mid-cycle refresh or a full refresh, then the system kind of starts to spread out some more.
A lot of times there's changes in the electronics and the software, the older software, updating it, or updating the new and getting the new software to run on the older electronics is sometimes more trouble than it's worth. If people aren't complaining about it, then it's not to their benefit to do it.
In my opinion, most people just care if it has CarPlay or Android Auto, and like as long as it kind of does that, they can put up with some other things. But yeah, I mean, now that automakers are starting to put a lot more horsepower behind their infotainments, especially the ones that are using like Android Automotive as a base instead of QNX, just they seem so much more responsive. Like going from Nissan's old system to the new one in the Leaf, or going to these new systems in Hyundai and Kia and stuff like that. It's just we as tech people. I don't want to generalize all of us here on this podcast, but like we as tech people like to have stuff that iterates quicker because we want the new, more responsive thing. And when we know there's something that is newer or has more responsiveness, like we want to look for that. But yeah, there can be sometimes a pretty sizable difference between generations of the vehicle. Most people are going to notice the body design differences, but
yeah,
and as you said, as long as you can hook up your phone and you get that interface on there, what's sitting underneath that, most people don't ever touch that anyway.
I kind of fell in love with that EV3 when I was in Europe for work travel, and it had that crisp. It was very crisp. It was very responsive. On the Santa Fe, we also test drove. I think it was a 2025. We test drove a 2025 used Carnival, same, and it had the same sort of interface, and I was immediately pleased with it. And then when we hit the Telluride to test drive it, I was like, oh, it's not the new stuff. It felt more responsive and everything. But I mean, between the two vehicles, it was a tough choice. There were pluses on either one of them. I think though I think we're very happy with saving $10K on the price from a standpoint of payments. And it's got the newer, like I said, the newer infotainment system. There are some funny things that I've noticed with it. I didn't even realize there were paddles for controlling regen. I didn't think they were going to be offering those on the on just the hybrids. I thought that was only an EV thing. So is that unusual or is that something that's happening across them?
It is relatively unusual in the industry, but Hyundai and Kia do it on a bunch of their vehicles.
Okay.
It's cheaper to leave the paddles on the steering wheel than it is to do two different versions in a lot of cases.
Just to have one steering wheel that a
real prime example. This doesn't work with what we're talking about here, but a real prime example is like the 7th generation Corvette. Like they had paddles for the automatic, but they didn't want to make a new steering wheel for the manuals, so the paddles in the manual control the auto rev match system. So it still has paddles with the manual transmission. It just does something else because GM wanted to save a few bucks per car. So it's
you push the one on the right, it shoots confetti out the right, right mirror, it shoots confetti off the left mirror.
Yeah, and on the Hyundais and Kias, you get the same steering wheel on the EVs and on the gas and hybrid models. On the gas models, it's for shifting the transmission. On the hybrids and on the EVs, it's for controlling regen.
Yeah. I will say, since you mentioned the transmission, you were talking about just sort of the layout of the console. The center console in both the Telluride and the Santa Fe, much less feeling cramped. It wasn't as high up on your hip, I guess, is the best way to say it. So if you like that room and not having, just having just an armrest, but not like feeling like you've got like a fighter pilot seat or a set of controls right there up next to your nose, that's probably an advantage you're going to get with the Telluride over the Palisade. The other thing that I really liked on the Santa Fe was that transmission stalk, changing the transmission stalk. I've at the Telluride 24 and 25 had the gear shift. All right. And it took up some space. And it had the older center console setup with the single phone charger versus the 2-phone charger and 2 phones place that was in the Santa Fe. That little shifter, that fixed stalk that's on the Santa Fe and I guess the EV9, and I saw
It's
it
on a
first on
bunch
the
of the
EV3.
vehicles now.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That is so simple. Like,
It's the right place for it.
why have them even been making like toggle switches in the Expedition Max and dials on the Stellantis vehicles? Like, please just put a stalk and twist R, L, D, and P for park.
I prefer, like, if I had to real have a preference, I prefer a stock that goes up and down like Cadillac kind of used to do,
Like
and like what
all the
what Mercedes
GM
does.
vehicles have that now.
And that's really like, because when you want to throw it in reverse, like if you're doing a weird parallel parking thing, like that's probably the easiest. But yeah, we had a transmission stock for a while, and then we figured out that we don't need to connect that to anything mechanical to work. And then we're like, oh well, we've got to reinvent the wheel and put it in weird places and do weird buttons. And no, I think having it where it is on the new HMG vehicles is a pretty good spot. Looks a little phallic to me. I don't want to bring that up too much, but
my only issue with that design is where they put the start stop button on the inboard.
It's too close to the
end.
Yeah, it's too close.
It's a little awkward to reach that.
Yeah, that was something I noticed. I still notice that if you're in the Santa Fe and I guess the EV9 and the EV3, the screen, this is something I noted when I wrote my little Discord blurb about the EV3. It's a long reach to, if you're sitting in the driver's seat in the EV3, and even more so in the Telluride and the Santa Fe, which are bigger inside. It's a reach to get to that corner if there's something on that right hand side of that screen, because it does stretch. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's screen newbiness for me, because I haven't had a digital screen in a car that big until this vehicle. But the button, I agree, is behind. You can't see it. Like my wife, it took her 5 minutes to, how do I start the car? I was like, oh, this is going to be a long trip.
Yes.
Long trip home from the dealership.
Some automakers that sell in both left and right hand drive markets, well, sometimes you'll get a car and it'll be configured. There's actually an option to change the orientation in the settings. I know that's not the case on your car, but I've been in some where, like Toyota's older infotainment system. Like I remember climbing in like a Highlander or something, and I'm like, why do I have to reach all the way over for this basic function? And it's because it was set in right-hand drive mode. So you could move like parts of the home screen over. I think as screens get bigger, like automakers really need to put more thought into, okay, the stuff you are going to use the touchscreen for can't be all the way over on the far side of the screen, because then you got to reach all the way over for it. Commonly used stuff should be closer to, or not have a touchscreen for everything. But that's
not allowed anymore.
That was the biggest thing that I was worried about is if there's stuff that she can't see on the screen that she needs to see. And if it was like the EV3, my comments on the EV3 that I drove in the Netherlands, it had the actual display output of what your climate control settings were. It's right behind the steering wheel. You can't see it in that little tiny mini middle screen. But the Santa Fe didn't have that. I didn't see anything like that in the Telluride. I will say that I think, the things we gave up on the Telluride, and this is for anybody who's listening that's, thinking about buying a big car like I just had to, or my wife just did. Me and my wife just did. We had, you got to decide, do you want 360-degree parking cameras, or you just want a backup camera? That's one thing we sacrificed. Do you want Napa leather versus whatever the leatherette kind of stuff is? I'm trying to think, do you want your bum cooled, or do you just want it heated?
I mean, in Georgia, probably cooled.
I was kind of really excited about having that. My daughter loves to use the heated seats in the minivan that we're giving up. And I think she would have really liked the cooled seats. But those are the kind of things you're giving up with that $10,000.
Yeah.
The other vehicles that we looked at, I really wanted her to try out the EV9. She was absolutely, and I'm curious if you have family members that are like this. She would absolutely not consider an electric vehicle, and the range anxiety is just there, or the ability to get it charged.
I've covered EVs almost exclusively since mid 2020. I hear that. And like I understand, like I get where her anxiety comes from. I do. Because she probably watches TV at some point or, sees some stuff online or whatever. It's not as bad as I think probably she thinks. But it could be better. Like it for sure could be the infrastructure and stuff could be better.
Do you have a garage or driveway at home?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I have a driveway. We do not park the vehicles in the garage. There is an old motorcycle there that probably needs to go bye-bye. It's been sitting there since I became a dad. And then the other side is full of lawn equipment. So we park outside, and I have a charger that runs underneath the garage door for level 1 charging of my Jeep. And what we were planning on doing, and I'm still planning on doing it, is going to a 40 amp or 50 amp circuit. This is an older house, so we got to figure out what that's going to cost and how much, what kind of a project that's going to be. But to get that full level 2 charge, I don't want to do product endorsements on here, but we're happy. I've been happy with the Grizzle E. It's a Canadian charger. I think it's rebranded from another brand. The Grizzle E, I got that.
I think that's what Nicole has too. I think she has a Grizzly.
Yeah, she has that, and I think they're actually the original.
Yeah,
they're made. They're
really nice. If we had gotten an EV, what I would have done is gone ahead and dropped the bank on getting an outlet, a 240 volt outlet, plugging one in, and actually paying for. There's a version of a Grizzle E that does dual charging, and I would have charged hers because mine would have been. My Jeep charges up at work with the level 2 charging in 2 hours. So then I could have charged as soon as mine disconnected. Full voltage would have gone to hers. But like I said, I was very happy. I counted it as a win. I banked the win that she went with the hybrid, and that we won't be paying. Yeah, especially now, it's really bad right now. But I would have liked to have seen, like I said at the beginning of this segment, the EV9s, they were all over CarMax. And again, I keep going back to CarMax. If you guys are wondering, why does he keep talking about CarMax? It was easiest for us to search and find and move vehicles around if we wanted to bring one from out of state. There were EV9s all over the place. As soon as the war in Iran started and the prices started to shoot up, reserved all across, and you could not get one. And they are only just now starting to appear back in. I don't know if that's a cyclical thing or if it was truly tied to the gas prices shooting up all of a sudden, or if it's just part of the cycle in the used car market. But I would have loved to have seen what that would have looked like relative to a Telluride. Would we have gotten the same amount of space?
EV9 has been out long enough now that you're going to have a lot of off-lease cars.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably why you're starting to see kind of a flood. If you'll allow me to editorialize briefly,
No.
I I don't like the EV9 all that much. I don't think the ride and handling is as refined as it needs to be, especially compared to the Ioniq 9, which feels like a full generation newer. There's nothing, I mean, it's not bad, it's not wrong if somebody has it, like, hey, cool, but it's a little jittery, it's a little just stuff doesn't feel quite as sorted, and it feels much more sorted on the stuff that's kind of come out after that for what it's for what it's worth. My question about the Santa Fe though, how are the dogs?
The dogs are good. So just a little bit of background. If you're shopping these guys at CarMax, I did look at Carvana as an alternative. Probably the most dog friendly dealership in the world. When we went on the test drive of the Santa Fe, the guy said, I said, I'm going to follow you along behind you in the Jeep, and then we'll stop somewhere and maybe we can change cars and I can get a test drive and see how it drives, make sure there's no noises or anything. The guy said, dude, just take your dogs with you. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, just take the dogs. We love dogs here. I said, okay. And I said, let me go get the beds. He goes, don't worry about it. Just get them in there. And we did put the beds in because I had no intention of having long dog nails tearing up upholstery in an unpaid for car. But they got in, they fit. If you are a dog person and that's a factor in buying the car, just be aware that these bigger 3-row SUVs, they have I didn't realize they'd gotten this advanced in the back. They now have all these little controls and digital controls and extra vents. Just keep that in mind. And the Telluride, the advantage with the Telluride for dogs is all the controls are up top in the headliner, and the air comes from the top, more like a larger SUV. But with the Santa Fe, it's side vents. So we'll see how long it takes for those to become clogged with dog hair over the years. Hopefully not. It hasn't destroyed our minivan in 10 years, but we'll see. And I just hope they don't turn off the air conditioning back there with their bony butts in the back of the car.
I believe if your car, the last Santa Fe I had, it's been a minute, but the last Santa Fe I had, I think for a loan, I think we took the dog in it, and the motion sensors picked up that the dog was still in the car and would send a notification to the phone as well.
I haven't even.
So like the alarm would go off, plus it would send a notification to the phone, like,
And
hey, something's going on.
Your Santa
here.
Fe might have that, depending on what trim level it is.
Yeah,
It might have. It's the advanced. I forget what to call it.
Child recognition system or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Or occupant detection, rear occupant detection system.
Yeah.
It does have that warning as we're getting out of the car. I'm going to have to let my wife know that, because if she goes in to go get dog food and she leaves the car running, definitely do not want to have a moment in the parking lot at Hollywood Feed and the car alarm going off and she doesn't know what's going on.
If the car's running, the alarm shouldn't go off.
When you turn it off and you get out and you close the doors,
forget
if it detects motion inside the car, then it'll send you an alert.
Volvo even picks up heartbeats in the footwells now, which is pretty wild.
And that is pretty. that is beyond what I was even thinking about. I just need the two of them to be able to lay down lay down on top of each other, and that's from my Jeep to the Santa Fe. That's a big improvement.
So I will say a decent amount of space.
I will say that the other vehicle that we were looking at, the Subaru Ascent, that was one that my wife designated as comfortable in front. And it's pretty roomy in back for dogs. We didn't get a chance to drive one, though. The Onyx edition was the one that seemed to be the one to go for if you could get it. And it was about at $20K or below in CarMax, it was about $38 to $40. So it was in our price range. And like I said, the EV9, if I could have gotten her to test drive one, and we could have found one in the current gas climate, the light long range version or the Wind, they're hovering around 38 to 40K. In fact, I think the Winds have gone up to about 42 or 44 in the past week or two. So the prices are starting to climb used for those. I would have liked to have done a test drive. I have a little sentimentality. Our first Greyhound that we ever adopted was in a Subaru, and funny anecdote, we adopted her. We were driving her way home. This is the 1999 Subaru Forester, and she immediately decorated that included rubber pad with a poo on the way home. She just got car sick, and I said, well, we're keeping the dog. I'm glad I can hose this out or wipe it down with some wet wipes in a parking lot. So it would have been nice to get the Subaru, but I think we're going to be super happy with the Santa Fe. I'm really hoping the quality holds up. And from what I've heard from your podcast and other shows, the Kias and the Kias and the Hyundais really seem to hold their quality these days, whereas they used to not be.
Better. Yeah, they've gotten a lot better. I mean, if you want to give Best Improved award, I mean, it's definitely to. Yeah. Occasionally you hear stories, but I think you have that with any automaker, and I'm not entirely sure like Toyota in 2026 deserves all of the quality recognition.
Yeah, Toyota's had a fair number of issues.
So
they're no Ford.
Oh yeah, sure. But like to kind of address just sort of like, the pricing discrepancy and stuff like that is like a lot of people buy HMG stuff, the either Hyundais or Kias or stuff like that. And when they first came to the US, like dealers had to sell them pretty cheap. And up until not too long ago, they were severely discounting the stuff. So like when you flood the market with a lot of vehicles that you've discounted heavily, that really hurts that resale value. So you find them unused through a used dealer like a CarMax or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, well, why are these cheaper than the Toyotas? Well, there's more of them, and the dealer may have had to discount them to sell them. But I wouldn't say that there's anything. I wouldn't expect any issues. Knock
Yeah.
on wood.
And you still got some warranty left on it.
Yeah, you
So
still got some
Yeah.
warranty left. And again, it's not Ford with the most recalls any automaker has ever had. And I hope that Kia and Hyundai have put the whole Kia Boys immobilizer thing behind them. But like, and you bought nearly a brand new car.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I should mention that at 36, 37 selling price, it had less than 10,000 miles on it.
I
They were
mean,
advertising it with 10,000 miles. I mean,
I
it's
get
not bad at all.
I get press cars sometimes that have 10,000 miles
Yeah.
on them. So
And we know what you guys do to them.
yeah, I wouldn't
So
necessarily buy a used press car.
no burnouts on our test drives
although
with dogs in back.
Roman just did. He just bought a Land Cruiser from the Toyota press fleet.
Roman's a
Oh, wow,
YouTuber,
okay.
so
Okay.
you got to worry about those YouTubers. No, that sounds fantastic, and I would definitely save the 10 grand. There's
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah.
I can't think of much that would
I mean,
No.
make me.
if it fits you and your wife is comfortable with it, it's a great choice. It's a shame you couldn't get her to at least test drive an EV9
would've
or
loved
an
that.
Ionic 9. But the Santa Fe is not a bad choice at all.
Well, and
No,
in a
no.
couple of years too, when you decide to switch, if you decide to switch again, you're
Mhm.
going to have used BZ Woodland and Trail Seekers,
Mhm.
which I think is like my current sort of like family EV of the moment. You're going to have used AG9s and EV9s, and you're going to have probably EV3s and stuff because
And
we're
Highlanders
getting the EV3
and
soon, and the
Subaru
Highlander.
Getaways.
Like you're going to almost be spoiled for choice in the EV space come this next sort of cycle of getting a new car or a new DU car.
Well,
It's not bad.
if anyone is looking, the other things I would share about the experience right now, get pre-approved with your bank or something, gives you an option. I think that's kind of standard, especially if you can't lease with a used vehicle. The other
Yet.
thing,
Yeah.
that I didn't really with a long. We did pay for the extended like a CarMax warranty. The good thing about this one is if you come back in 6 months and cancel it, you can get it. They'll prorate it and give you the refund, which you would definitely not get with a dealership, I don't think. With that, so we did that. I think the other thing that I was going to say about this was, um, just know just be ready to try out a couple of cars and don't discount the electric if you're out there and you're looking for it. I really wanted her to do it, but that hybrid, I was super surprised. That thing keeps telling us it's 36 miles per gallon, and if that really holds up, I'm going to be super excited with it. Couple of things. The other thing is keys. When did the hell did they become like $600 to get a key for a second key?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Here's a top tip. If you go to Costco, I don't even think you have to be a Costco member because they're sitting in the parking lot sometimes. But Costco has this deal with, I forget the key replacement thing, but they offer like on the spot, mostly new cars, key duplication for like a third of the dealer price. Like it's, so I wouldn't,
I wish I had known that.
there.
I wish I had thought of that before I got a replacement key for our old Civic a couple of years ago, which ended up costing me like, by the time between the key for like $250 and the time to program it and everything, I was out almost $500 for that.
So I think the service is called Car Keys Express, and they do road shows at your local Sam's Club and Costco.
Yeah.
And their 20% off price is still around $500. So it's still, I think I've heard 4 figures if you go through the dealerships. So fingers crossed. Right now, I'm just going to accept it as I just won't drive it. I've got my Jeep. I'm happy with my Jeep, and now I can get less dog hair and wear and tear in the Jeep in the meantime. Um, but yeah, if anybody's out there looking, the Kias and the Hyundais, they're really nice. And they're at that, what is it, Sam, that you say that the average new car price is right
The average
now?
transaction prices.
Yeah, the transaction, what is it right now? 40 to 50,000?
It's just over 50,000 right now.
Yeah, so take advantage of the used market. It's out there, and hopefully we'll have this one for a long time to come. And I really do appreciate you guys giving me a chance to share kind of our buying experience and our thought process, and hopefully somebody can learn from it and come away with a new car for their family and their dogs.
Well, we don't always buy new cars, and it's part of an experience that, like, hey, we get a car every week or whatever, and we can test this and do that, but like, don't really work with dealers. And, there are some good dealers out there.
Mhm.
They might even be listening to this podcast, but there's also a lot of really bad dealers out there. And sometimes it can be hard to figure out, where to go and who to trust. I agree that I like the CarMax model quite a bit. I think I don't think they're on commission. I think they get paid for cars they sell, but I don't think they have the same kind of commission structure. Um, and up until Doug DeMuro made a big hay about CarMax's warranties, like, their extended warranties were like incredible for a while. They're still good from what I understand, but
Mhm.
like, there was a time that you could, like, he did a whole YouTube series on it. It was wild. But yeah, I think that anybody that's doesn't like negotiating, and I don't know who does. Maybe if you do, more power to you. But I think the Saturn model was ahead of its time. I think GM screwed up a lot of Saturn stuff, and that's why it didn't work. But the idea of just having the price, and that's the price you pay, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me, man.
We were, for anybody who's wondering, not counting them prepping the vehicle and everything. Actually, they had the car. We called them on the way home. We were coming home from, again, we're big into greyhounds. It's our hobby as a family, volunteering and that sort of thing. We were coming from an event, and we basically called this place. We had an hour and a half drive to get back from the event up to the place. They had the car ready to go. They did need to vacuum it out and do the final prep of it. Um, and we spent about 2 hours doing paperwork. We were on our USAA app filling out the final price and the sales stuff. 2 hours, and 2 hours total once we were there, and we were out the door. So if that's your kind of buying experience, you don't want to spend a whole day and like I said, have to dance around in a circle and do and talk to the gods to negotiate with the finance guy or whatever. It's a much easier thing, and I'm with you, Chad. I want to get in there and get out of there, and if the price is reasonable enough, I want to go. And yeah, we'll see in a couple of years. I'm keeping an eye on their Rivians. Their Rivians are still ridiculously expensive, especially now that the PHEV is gone from the Stellantis lineup.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you really quick. I know we're probably going to wrap up your chatting about your new car, but how has your 4xe experience been? I know there's been some recalls.
A lot of recalls.
They were telling people to not park it inside for a while. Like, where have you been on it?
So I received. Again, it was secondhand, so I don't always receive the Stellantis notifications. I did just find it in some old mail. The second recall, the first recall that I had, I went in and this was the, hey, well, this vehicle may burn your business and or your house down battery thing if it's just sitting there, even if you just stare at it. So I took it in. They did a software check. It passed. So they were checking for to see if there was a software condition that would match the one that they were seeing, and I guess the damaged battery cells, I guess from LG. And then this second one just came out in November, and everybody in the Discord was saying, "Oh, have you gotten your vehicle checked out?" When I took it in, they said it was going to be here. We're going to do 5 or 6 hours of tests. We're going to rewrite the software on 8 of the major out of like 30 software controllers in the car. And then they said if it fails any of those tests, you can't take the car back, and it might be 3 weeks before we can get it repaired for you and replace it with a new pack. And when they sent me to Enterprise to take that vehicle, to have the rental, they wanted to put me in a Jeep Compass, and I said, nope. I see that Wagoneer on the other side of the parking lot. Can you clean that up for me and put me in that? And then I got to drive a Wagoneer, and I have completely different opinions about that, but we won't go into it on this on this episode. But I was looking at 3 weeks before if they had found something wrong, and that was a little concerning. I love the vehicle; it's a fantastic car. I think Nicole still has hers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I would say that you talk about, you were just got to spend your last weekend doing Jeep stuff, which is good because a lot of Jeep owners don't Jeep stuff. But one of my best off-roading experiences was actually on the launch of the 4xe Wrangler, because off-roading in that car or in any electric car, because in electric mode, like, the 4xe doesn't have a true torque converter the way, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. But the point is, you feel much more connected with whatever you're trying to crawl up. So, like, you give even the smallest amount of throttle application, and like the wheel moves because it's just electric. It's just electric motor doing it, and it's silent. It means you can hear everything, nature, other people, the person you just ran over, whatever. Like, you can hear, you can hear all of that. And unlike any other Jeep model, including the 392, like, you don't get that immediate responsiveness in that slow speed off-road. You have to wait for the torque converter to wind up. You have to get the hamster on the wheel. I know in normal driving you don't feel any of that because it's just, hey, normal driving. But once you've off-road or did anything like in a pure EV or like a PHEV with an EV mode, like in the Wrangler, like, you don't want to do it any other way. Like, it's just the best way to do it. I
had my Greyhounds in the back of the Jeep. We went on a trail. We had some water fording about a foot and a half deep. And I never had a doubt that I was completely safe being an EV. People just need to get it in their heads. The EVs can be just as capable off-road as your ICE vehicles. But being able to do that first time, the first time I ever took it on with another group of Jeep people had 392s. They had old 1990s era Grand Cherokees or Jeep Cherokees, and they were falling behind. They're like, your car wasn't running the whole time. I was like, no, I put on full regen and I put it in 4-wheel drive auto, and that's what I did. I didn't even know how to use 4-wheel drive low on the vehicle. I still don't. I don't want to admit that. But they were, it's a great experience.
It's okay. Nobody listens to this.
Yeah, but but I really do hope they bring something back that's the Wrangler that is truly an electric vehicle, a fuel efficient vehicle. I hate that they've given it up, but I also understand
they do have the Recon still
allegedly
coming. Yeah,
I've seen that. I wish I'd seen one in Europe, but I did not. It looks like a really cool vehicle.
Drive around Detroit; they're everywhere. The Recon name was. You may have seen an Avenger in Europe. I've seen a couple there, which is the
Avenger is actually selling quite well in Europe.
It's a little bit smaller than like the Compass. It's like the old Renegade size.
I may have seen.
It's actually smaller than a Renegade.
Yeah, it's tiny, but it's cool. I think it's really cool looking. I know somebody that has one, but yeah, I think that Stellantis, like, their full EV efforts up until now, have really struggled, to put it, optimistically. They need to get some stuff sorted out. But I also completely agree with you. The answer isn't to put a V8 in everything. It is an answer, but it's not the answer.
No, it's not the answer. I'm of the same mind about the Hummer EV. 1,000 horsepower. What could we have done with the 3 vehicles that the batteries in that one took up?
Have you driven one though?
That's a whole shopping trip that I can't even begin to afford.
Oh, but you feel like you're the king of Beep Mountain. You just feel like you are king of the world. Though I did drive the SUV across the Golden Gate Bridge against rush hour traffic, so they had it like 2 lanes wide, and I felt like I was going to fall off the bridge because I was so much wider, and the lanes are so narrow, and you're just kind of. It's a very, very
wide vehicle,
a very harrowing experience. But no, like the EV3, like, I'm kind of jealous you got to drive an EV3 already, because like, stuff like that is the EVs that I get really excited about. The affordable or reasonably affordable. I think it's easy to build a Hummer EV. I know their engineers would disagree with me, but I think that's easy. I think it's almost easy to build like a Rivian or an electric G-Wagon or anything like
It's
that.
the brute force approach to building an EV.
Yeah, whenever you have an unlimited sort of resources, you can do a lot of stuff. When you're constrained, when you know you have to hit a certain price point, you have to be innovative. You have
Yeah.
to be creative, and I think that brings out better automotive engineering, to be honest.
Yeah, the EV6 that Sam drives, the EV3 that I drove, I mean, they were they're great.
Yeah.
So, but next vehicle, I'll see if I can convince my wife the next turnaround, and give me a couple of years, and we'll come back and see what if we're still hand cranking the engine to start it up, so to speak. But thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to share that experience. I hope anybody who's listening can get something out of it, and you guys keep being awesome here on Wheel Bearings.
Thanks. And before you go, why don't you go ahead and plug your podcast too?
Yeah, if you, I've been volunteering, as I was telling Sam before the show, I've been volunteering for Greyhound adoption for a good, at least since 2013. They are a fantastic breed. Buddy of mine, the fella I volunteer with the most, he and I started a podcast. If you are looking to learn about the breed, it's Greyhound Nation at greyhoundnation.dog. That's DOG. And we don't record, but probably an average of once a month. We were doing a little bit more early on in COVID when we started. And we've slowed down as he's gotten a little older, and the guests, it is kind of a niche podcast. But a lot of the things that I appreciate about some of Leo Laporte's This Week in Tech, your show, I try to incorporate some of those quality things about how the show starts and how we present the show. So you guys set a great example with the great camaraderie that you all have here, and the production value over at Twit Network. So if you're interested in a dog and learning about the breed, it is the only dog in the world that can go 45 miles per hour as fast as a car on its own. So one of the few breeds that can do it.
My corgis, when they want to chase after a car, it seems like they can go 45.
Any day you want to meet, we'll put the corgi and a greyhound in the dog park and see how that turns out.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Michael. And
it's very nice meeting you.
And glad to hear your story. So
yeah, thank you so much, guys, and keep being awesome. Thanks, Chad, Sam.
Okay. All right. I am going to hit stop for a second here, so we can make sure. So that was a great conversation with Michael. And Chad, I want to thank you again for jumping in at the last minute today.
Oh, no, thank you for letting me come on and talk about cars, because I like doing that.
Yeah.
And as much as I joked earlier in that interview, the listeners like don't worry, nobody's going to hear this, when Michael was talking about something.
Yeah.
You've got a really great audience. I see people mentioning the show a lot in a lot of places, and it's fun to talk with smart people about the industry, because sometimes the industry feels kind of crazy, and sometimes the world feels kind of crazy.
It definitely is.
And it kind of all the streams kind of cross, and I feel like some days I want to pull a little bit of my hair out that I have left. So I really enjoy coming on and talking again to smart people. And I liked hearing Michael's story, because we don't necessarily go through the new car buying process all the time, and things change, and being able to understand what regular consumers, I mean, he's an enthusiast, but what regular consumers are interested in, I think only makes our job easier. It makes it better to do our jobs. So I'm glad he was on here to do that.
And then as we say goodbye, actually, you will hear a little bit of Nicole on today's show, because we've got an interview that she recorded a couple weeks ago at the New York Auto Show with Allison Witherspoon, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Nissan. So as soon as we say goodbye, you'll hear Nicole jump in and have a chat with Allison. So,
woo, Nicole. Oh, hey, I'm going to pimp something.
Oh,
speaking of Nicole, I don't use.
No, sorry, click. Stop recording. Stop recording.
Stop. I'm going to have it come back. No. If you like Nicole or Robbie, which I'm assuming you've listened to this podcast, you do. And
they're not listening for me, that's for sure.
And if you're a super duper nerd, I just started a Star Trek podcast recently, and they're both on it. Sam will have a link in the show notes. But if you like hearing them talk and you want to hear them talk about nerdy stuff, it's kind of fun. I just wanted to pimp that quick. All right,
Okay.
thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Your name and title, so I have it officially.
Allison Witherspoon, Chief Marketing Officer for Nissan.
Okay, and what we were starting to talk about before I hit record
Yes.
was the Dipsy,
Yes.
which was your not Super Bowl ad.
Correct. Yeah.
Tell me
So
that.
our Super
tell
Bowl
me about your
adjacent.
not Super Bowl ad.
The Super Bowl adjacent. So we wanted to help drive consideration for Rogue. We're in kind of the last year. We're getting ready to come out this year in 2026 with the Rogue Hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have a lot of the current generation Rogue, so we want to make sure that we're continuing to grow consideration for that. So we knew that we wanted to do something. We felt like we wanted to insert ourselves into the Super Bowl moment, but we didn't have the typical buy for it. So we thought about, okay, how can we connect with this moment in a way that feels natural and something that's much more, I think, like pays homage to Super Bowl. And so we were talking with our engineering team, and there is this little known fact that in the Rogue, you can actually do the child latch for your child car seat in all 3 seats in the back row. And so most cars, they only have it on the passenger side or the driver's side. This one, you can actually use the middle seat. So we're like, you know what else you can do with that? Like, what is one of the most frustrating things about going to a Super Bowl party? It's transporting the dip. And how many times have you gone to a party and it's at your feet, you're holding it, it's going all over the place. And so we thought, let's take the idea of the security that you can have in the child seat and actually apply that to the dip.
It's hilarious.
Thanks.
I know it was just like a shtick for the ad, but I really want you to make that.
We have a few of them. TSA took one of them, but
Did TSA
yes,
take one?
they disassembled one of them. But
What did they think? They thought it was,
I think-
it was scary and unknown?
no, I think they thought maybe things were being hidden in it. When it
Oh,
went through when we were coming back
Well-
from the shoot.
Okay, I guess it's weird enough that TSA would be looking at what is this?
Yeah. But we are talking to, and part of it too is obviously we work really closely internally. So we were
Yeah.
talking with the after sales team. We wanted to see if is there any interest in this? And I think we have seen that there
I
is.
would
So
buy it.
yeah.
You convinced me to buy a Rogue just so I
All
can have
right.
that. So,
Okay. All right.
consider that
All right. I'm going to go back and tell them that.
in your marketing. But the greater purpose of this conversation,
Yeah.
aside from the fact that I love that ad, was what you're trying to do was sort of raising the profile
Yeah.
of Nissan. It's
Yeah.
sort of been flying under the radar
Mhm.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And you talked about, in the email that I got from you guys, you talked about trying
Mm-hmm.
to sort of push the performance and the. Tell me about that. What's your new angle to get people to know who Nissan is again?
The biggest thing is actually reinforcing the quality and durability of our vehicles. And I think that over time, we haven't necessarily focused on that enough. And so we're the number one mainstream brand for IQS from JD Power, so initial quality study. And we have great vehicles. They're incredibly durable, high quality. And we want to make sure that consumers understand that about us. Because I think when you think about Nissans, we've always been historically just great cars, can kind of get through anything, totally reliable. And we wanted to get back to that. So we've been really reinforcing that over the last year. We've been doing a lot of long form content, going to our engineering facilities and our testing facilities and going in depth and showing all the testing processes that our vehicles go through, and kind of hearing from our actual engineers talking about how, whether it's Pathfinder or Rogue or Frontier, how we take it to the next level when it comes to testing and making sure that these vehicles are really going to be built for our consumers' best, whatever it is that they need it for.
So there's the trend right now that everything has an off-road version of everything. Has every company has their own little word for what their off-road trend line is.
Yeah.
Is that a key part of what you're trying to market right now for Nissan?
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily just about off-road. I think it's more about the overall durability, because even when you look at Pathfinder, you think Pathfinder, it's a 3-row family vehicle. Think about all the things that happen in a family vehicle that are still about durability. So it's about ice cream flying around in the car, a lot of things that kids are doing in the back seat, all of that, kicking the seats, all of that demonstrates durability. So it's not specific just to off-road. We have great, our Pro 4X with our Frontier and with our Armada, those are great examples of more of our off-road capability, but it's showing the durability in kind of any family or any situation that a consumer is going to be in. And whether that's something going in the back seat with the kids, or if you want to take it off road. It's about kind of this broader definition of durability.
And so to get that family into that Pathfinder, how do you appeal? Like, what's your strategy to appeal to that person to say the Pathfinder is the vehicle that you want? This is what we want. We have the right durability, the right versatility. How do you communicate that to people?
So we actually, we just launched our refreshed Pathfinder early in February. And so what we actually wanted to do is our entire marketing for Pathfinder is around what are all the things that a Pathfinder can do, but told through the eyes of a child. So children can be very imaginative, obviously. And so we were asking kids, what do you think can the Pathfinder do this? And so then they've been drawing out all these different ideas, and it's like pickle bridge and like a fudge river. Yeah. That came out in February. So we can send that to you.
Send that to me because I haven't seen those. I apparently don't watch enough TV with commercials. So.
And so I think that's another example of how durability can be going off road, but can also be in those moments. And think about kids; they have these amazing ideas. They're never done. We're like, well, let's actually do one of these. Let's do what these kids are saying and actually show that the vehicle can do that. Yeah.
So thinking about what I literally just said, I don't watch enough TV to see commercials. I haven't seen those, not because they're not good ads, but because I just haven't watched enough TV. How are you reaching the person who's not really watching TV the way we used to, where ads are running?
Yeah. And I think social is becoming a much larger and larger portion of what we're doing. I think TV it's almost about 20% of what our total mix is.
Really?
Yeah. And so where we are, and it's focused, and when we are in TV, it's in moments where we have a lot of eyeballs, and that's really around live sports. And that's where, that's really where you have, captive audiences.
Right.
So all the other content is really going to be in social media, streaming platforms. That's where we want to be showing up, because it's not about dictating what a media channel strategy is. It's about being where consumers are and then meeting them there. Influencers are another big piece of it, and content creators, because that's a way that consumers are now discovering brands and seeing brands in a different way, which also helps us as we're trying to shift perception about Nissan.
So do you feel like the influencers set such a change in strategy? I'm surprised it's only 20%. I didn't know how low it was for the traditional broadcast. People trust influencers? Like, are they seen as does that get people just saying, oh, Nissan exists? Or does it get people saying, I want to buy that Nissan?
I think it's kind of a two-step process. What we're seeing is that the time lag between when you have natural awareness for a brand to when you're buying, that's now really shrunk. And so consumers they'll see something from Nissan, they'll see something from a creator, maybe they'll configure a car, maybe they'll do something that's, kind of more transactional. All of that's happening in a very short amount of time. So it is kind of both. Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to get on the consideration set. That's what from a marketing standpoint, that's our primary objective.
So it's about building the awareness.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't even think about the Pathfinder, now you do.
Yeah, and taking it just a little bit, one step further, and it's not just aware of it, but it's also, I want to consider that as I'm looking for SUVs or small SUVs, putting that in the consideration set.
And is for the influencer angle and the social media angle, are you targeting all of it? Because there's so much social media, right?
Yes.
Is there one platform or one way of reaching people that way that you find that's better than others?
This is actually something, it's constantly shifting. And I was just going through this strategy a couple weeks ago, actually, with the team. So what we're doing is we're kind of going, a lot of these content creators, they have very specific audiences. So we're matching up our models with some of their specific audiences. And some creators are better on TikTok, others are going to be better on Instagram. We try to match that to where our consumers are and try to match that as much as possible.
Do you think your consumers are one of those spots more than the other, or are they all?
It'll be all over the place.
Really?
It'll vary. Yeah, it's going to vary.
Okay.
That's what we've seen. And I think that's what's kind of complicated about marketing right now, because we need to be all places. We don't have, endlessly unlimited budgets. And so it's really about trying to be very targeted in understanding our audience. How do they react to things? What are they interested in? And then trying to connect creators as an example with that. But, because you'll have, and I wish that it was as easy as saying, okay, the Frontier all the consumers are going to be on TikTok. That's not the case. They're going to be all over the place.
So even something as distinctive as a truck,
Yeah.
they could be anywhere.
It can be anywhere.
So you have to target all of it.
You have to target all of it, but you have to do it in different ways. And I think the other thing that makes it complicated is that content that's on TikTok doesn't perform necessarily as well as it would on Instagram, because the way consumers use those platforms is very different.
So then when you're looking at marketing now, you have to do one thing for broadcast where that works, and one thing for TikTok, and one thing for Insta. So you have to split that budget among all these. It's not just you can run the same thing. You're going to do creative for all of these different things in different ways.
Exactly. And that's where technology is now a benefit, because if we were trying to do this 10 years ago, it'd be impossible. But now we have, with generative AI, we're able to do a lot more of these types of assets. You're able to take videos and kind of remix them in real time, so that that technology helps us a lot. The key thing that we have is the idea is the same in how we want to talk about the car and what we want to communicate about it. That's consistent regardless of what the channel or format of it is. How it comes to life does vary by platform.
So you mentioned generative AI, which is a big thing. Everyone's AI. How much does that help? How much do you utilize that in what you guys are trying to do now?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really bullish on AI over the last year. So I think when it comes to media delivery, the actual delivery of our messaging to consumers, most of that is driven now by AI and the different AI tools that we have. Audience segmentation, strategy, all of that's AI is embedded into all of that. When it comes to content, this is probably where there's been the most advanced work that's happened over the last several months. And I would say like 4 months.
Wow.
4 months ago, you would have, the fidelity of the content wasn't great after like 10 seconds. Now you're getting much more to like 15 seconds, 30 seconds, where it's a lot better than it used to be. And so what we've been doing, as an example, we have our tier 2, so our co-marketing program that we have with our dealers. A big piece of feedback historically for decades has been, a dealer in the Northeast region wants to show a background that is consistent with New York City, as an example. LA, those dealers are not going to want to show that. Historically, it's been impossible to try to actually shoot every single background that's needed. And we have 208 different DMAs. They're all running different assets. Now all of that, we just launched it this past quarter. We have all of that now is dynamically generated. So we have thousands of backgrounds that our dealers can go in and select. So you can have, something that's going to be capital, urban, mountains. All of that is now much more geographically specific.
So it lets them tailor like what I want for my message right now.
Yeah.
Market is that background.
Correct.
So it's not like showing sunny California in freezing cold.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. That's really cool.
And that's where technology, again, and I've been doing this for a minute, and this has been the consistent, conversation that I've had with dealers for years, is that they want something that's more geographically specific, and, feasibility wise, we couldn't do it. It's just too expensive. But now they're dynamically generated.
So with all these marketing efforts that you're making and trying to bring the brand back to sort of visibility for people, what would you hope if someone saw one of your ads anywhere? What would you hope that their thought is when they see that? What do you want them to think about Nissan when you see that ad? Oh, Nissan is.
I want them to think Nissan has some great cars, and I want to start looking into them.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.